The Silurian science vessel Astral Seeker drifted down from the night sky. Its blue-green lights pulsed softly as it settled on the dusty ground of the Mojave Desert. Steam hissed from vents along its smooth hull as the ship cooled from its journey through Earth's atmosphere. Captain Zixthul checked the final landing readings on his control panel. Gravity compensation stable. Atmosphere compatible with Brothers. Local time appears to be early morning. Any signs of native detection? Asked Science Officer Kesthar, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence as she studied her own screens. None on our scanners. We've landed in a low population area as planned, replied Zixthul. Remember, this is a standard observation mission. The natives are pre-FTL and classified as primitive. We observe, we catalog, we leave. The 6-member crew prepared their equipment. They had done this dozens of times on other worlds. Earth was just another stop on their biological survey of this spiral arm of the galaxy. The unusual energy readings they had detected from orbit were probably nothing special, just some natural phenomenon the locals hadn't yet explained with their limited science. 2 miles away, Jack Miller stepped onto the porch of his small desert home. At 38, Jack had left his job as a military engineer to live a quieter life away from cities. He sipped his coffee and gazed at the stars. Then he saw it, a streak of light that didn't move like a shooting star. It slowed down. It stopped. It descended. Jack set his cup down slowly. Well, that's different. He went inside, grabbed his binoculars, a flashlight, and his old service pistol. Not that a pistol would do much good against whatever that was, but it felt better than going empty-handed. Jack climbed into his jeep and drove toward where he had seen the light land. The Silurian crew exited their ship in protective suits. The suits weren't fully necessary. Earth's atmosphere was breathable for them, with only minor discomfort, but protocol demanded caution on first exploration. Energy readings are stronger here on the surface, said Kesthar. Unusual pattern, almost like. Zixthul raised a 3-fingered hand, movement approaching. Ground vehicle. The aliens quickly gathered behind their ship, weapons ready but not drawn. First contact was always tense, even for experienced crews. Jack's jeep bounced over a ridge, and suddenly he saw it. A ship unlike anything he had ever seen, glowing softly in the pre-dawn light. He stopped his vehicle about 50 yards away and turned off the engine. Holy shit, he whispered to himself. It's actually happening. The aliens watched as the human stepped out of his vehicle. According to their briefings, the human should now either flee in terror or fall to the ground in worship. Instead, Jack Miller raised one hand in a wave and called out, "Hello there. Come in peace, I hope." The Silurians looked at each other in confusion. This wasn't in the protocol guide. Zixthul stepped forward cautiously. The universal translator in his suit processed the human's words and helped form a response. "We are peaceful researchers," he said, his voice sounding slightly metallic through the translator. This encounter was not planned. Jack smiled. "Yeah, I figure I wasn't on the invitation list. Name's Jack Miller. And you folks are a long way from home, I'm guessing." The aliens were stunned by the human's calm response. Where was the fear, the confusion, the religious awe? "You are not afraid?" asked Kesthar, stepping forward beside her captain. Jack shrugged. "Oh, I'm plenty scared. But also curious. And it's getting cold out here. Would you all like some coffee? My place is just over that ridge." The Silurians had never encountered this reaction in any pre-FTL species. Zixthul knew he should refuse, return to the ship, and report this unusual behavior to the Science Council. Instead, he said, "What is coffee?" 20 minutes later, 4 Silurian scientists sat awkwardly on chairs designed for human bodies, while Jack poured hot brown liquid into mugs. The ship's medical officer had confirmed it wasn't poisonous to their systems, though the caffeine might affect them differently. "So," said Jack, sitting down across from the aliens who had removed their helmets, revealing their greenish, scaled skin and large eyes. "What brings you folks to Earth?" Science Officer Kesthar held her scanner over Jack's arm. The device hummed softly while Jack sipped his third cup of coffee. The other Silurians stood around Jack's small living room, examining his belongings with curious eyes. "This cannot be correct," Kesthar said, tapping her scanner. "I must recalibrate." She adjusted some settings and scanned Jack again. "Something wrong with your gadget?" Jack asked. Captain Zixthul moved closer. "What is the problem, Science Officer?" Histhar's 4 eyes blinked rapidly in what Jack was beginning to recognize as a sign of excitement or stress. The human's genetic structure shows at least 37 modifications that should be impossible for a pre-FTL civilization. "Maybe I'm just special," Jack said with a smile. "Are all humans like you?" Zixthul asked. Jack shrugged. "Pretty much. I'm about average in most ways." Kesthar showed her scanner to the captain. "The genetic engineering to resist radiation, cancer, and viral infections. A species doesn't develop these naturally." Jack looked confused. "Those aren't genetic modifications." "Well, not for me personally. We've made medical advances, sure, but I'm just a regular guy." "Medical advances?" asked Kesthar. "Can you explain?" Jack pulled out his smartphone. The aliens watched with interest as he tapped the screen. "Let me look some stuff up for you. Our medicine has come pretty far in the last century." The Silurians gathered around as Jack showed them websites about human medical achievements. He explained vaccines, antibiotics, and recent breakthroughs in gene therapy. To him, these seemed ordinary, but the aliens grew more amazed with each explanation. "Your species has cured diseases that still plague advanced civilizations across the galaxy," Zixthul said. "How is this possible without faster-than-light travel? Without access to the Galactic Council's medical database?" "We just figured it out on our own," Jack said. "Look, there's someone you should meet. My friend Susan is a geneticist at a research center about an hour from here. She can explain this better than I can." Kesthar turned to her captain. "We should not expand this contact without authorization from the Science Council." But Jack was already dialing his phone. "Hey, Susan, you're not going to believe this, but I've got some people at my place you really need to meet." "Yes, right now. Trust me, it's worth canceling your morning meetings for." 3 hours later, Dr. Susan Wright stood in her laboratory, explaining her current research to the fascinated aliens. The Silurians had reluctantly agreed to visit her facility, disguising themselves in human clothes and hats from Jack's closet. "This gene therapy targets specific cancer cells without harming healthy tissue," Susan explained, showing slides on her computer. "We've had a 94% success rate in clinical trials." "This treatment would save millions on Proxima Centauri," whispered the Silurian medical officer to Zixthul. "Their entire species suffers from cellular degradation similar to this cancer." Susan noticed their reaction. "Is something wrong?" Zixthul hesitated, then decided to be honest. "Dr. Wright, the medical knowledge your species possesses is unexpected. Many worlds with technology far beyond yours struggle with diseases you have already conquered." "Really?" Susan looked surprised. "I always assumed more advanced civilizations would have better medicine." "Technology and wisdom do not always advance at the same rate," Kesthar said. "Your species seems uniquely focused on healing and adaptation." While Susan continued her presentation, Kesthar secretly transmitted data to the Silurian homeworld. The message was brief. Human genetic research could save billions across the galaxy. Recommend immediate diplomatic contact rather than standard observation. Outside the lab, Jack watched the aliens' reactions. He noticed how they seemed both impressed and troubled by what they were learning. Something about their expressions made him uneasy. "Your people have accomplished much," Zixthul said to Jack as they prepared to leave the facility. "Perhaps too much, too quickly." "What do you mean by that?" Jack asked. "The Galactic Council carefully monitors developing worlds," Zixthul replied. Species that advance too rapidly often destroy themselves before reaching the stars. So we're doing too well. Jack laughed. That's a new one. It is not just your medical knowledge, Kesthar added. Your adaptability, your resilience, and your capacity for both destruction and creation. You are an anomaly, Jack Miller. Your entire species is. As they walked to the parking lot, Jack noticed a black SUV pulling in at the far end. Men in suits stepped out, looking around with purpose. I think we need to leave, Jack said quietly. Now, the Galactic Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy. 50 representatives from different worlds sat around the vast circular table, their attention fixed on the data displays floating before them. This report cannot be accurate, said Councillor Drez, his orange scales bristling. A primitive world with such medical technology. Impossible. Science Officer Kesthar has an excellent record, replied the Silurian ambassador. We have no reason to doubt her findings. High Councillor Vex of the Draconians leaned forward. His sharp features twisted into what passed for a smile in his species. If this information is correct, these humans could be extremely valuable to us. Meanwhile on Earth, Jack's jeep raced down the desert highway. Susan sat beside him, with 4 disguised aliens crowded in the back. Those were government agents, Jack said, checking the rearview mirror. Someone must have noticed your ship or tracked your energy signature. We have cloaking technology, Zixthul said, but we did not engage full protocols. We did not expect to make contact. Susan turned to look at them. So what happens now? Will your people tell everyone about us? The Galactic Council is likely receiving our report as we speak, Kesthar said. Their response will determine the next steps. Jack kept driving until they reached an abandoned gas station. We should be safe here for a bit. Let's figure out a plan. Before they could continue, the radio in Jack's Jeep suddenly turned on by itself. A calm voice spoke through the static. This is Director Alan Powell of the United States Special Projects Division. We know you are harboring non-terrestrial visitors. We wish to establish peaceful dialogue. Please respond. The aliens looked at each other in alarm. Jack hesitated, then picked up the radio. This is Jack Miller. How did you find us? We've been monitoring unusual frequencies since the landing, Mr. Miller. Dr. Wright's research facility has sensors that detected your visitors' unique biological signatures. Jack looked at Susan, who appeared just as surprised as he was. What do you want? Jack asked into the radio. The same thing you do, Mr. Miller. A peaceful first contact. We've prepared a secure location for discussions. No harm will come to our visitors. Zixthul touched Jack's shoulder. Can we trust these words? Jack thought for a moment. Powell has a good reputation. If the government wanted to take you by force, they would have done it at the lab. 2 days later, a remarkable meeting took place at a remote government facility in Nevada. Director Powell sat across from Captain Zixthul, with Jack, Susan, and several high-ranking officials present. Your discovery of our medical advances has caused quite a stir, Powell said. We've been monitoring the increased activity in our solar system. More of your ships are arriving. The Council is divided, Zixthul admitted. Some see humans as a threat to be contained. Others see potential allies. And which side are you on, Captain? Powell asked. I believe there is much our worlds could learn from each other. Powell nodded. Then let us begin with an exchange of knowledge. Limited technology from you, medical research from us. As the discussions continued, news of the alien contact spread worldwide. In cities across the globe, people reacted with fear, wonder, and hope. Religious leaders debated the theological implications. Scientists eagerly anticipated new discoveries. In the Nevada facility, Susan worked with the Silurian medical officer, comparing notes on genetic research. The aliens were particularly fascinated by human immune systems, which were remarkably adaptable compared to most species they had encountered. Your people developed these medical advances despite your wars and conflicts, the Silurian noted. Most species only achieve such cooperation after unifying their world. Maybe the struggles made us stronger, Susan suggested. We had to adapt or die. Outside the facility, 3 sleek ships landed. They were not Silurian. "Sir," a young officer reported to Powell, "we have more visitors. They're calling themselves the Draconian Diplomatic Corps." Powell looked at Zixthal, who had suddenly gone very still. "Captain," Powell asked, "should we be concerned?" "The Draconians rarely send diplomats," Zixthal said quietly. "They prefer to take what they want." The spaceship Horizon hummed as it traveled through the stars. It was the first human vessel to use alien technology, a joint project between Earth scientists and Silurian engineers. Inside, Jack Miller stared out the viewport, watching the strange colors of faster-than-light travel swirl around the ship. "Still feeling sick?" asked Captain Lisa Garcia as she floated into the observation deck. Jack smiled weakly. "Better now. Nobody told me space travel would feel like the worst roller coaster ever." "Dr. Wright hasn't left her quarters in 2 days," Lisa said with a laugh. "For a scientist eager to see alien worlds, she's having a rough journey." 3 weeks had passed since the Draconians arrived on Earth. Their visit had been tense but ended with an unexpected invitation. Humans were asked to send representatives to the Silurian Science Station at the edge of the solar system. Director Powell had carefully selected the crew of the Horizon Captain Garcia for her military experience, Jack for his connection with the Silurians, and Dr. Wright for her medical knowledge. "We're approaching the station," Lisa said. "You should get ready. First impressions matter." An hour later, the Horizon docked at the massive Silurian station. Jack, Lisa, and Susan stepped through the airlock, where Captain Zixthal waited to greet them. "Welcome, friends," the Silurian said. "You are the first humans to travel beyond your solar system." The station was huge, with curved hallways and strange plants growing from the walls. Aliens of different species moved about, all stopping to stare at the humans. Some looked curious, others wary. "Why are they looking at us like that?" Susan whispered. "You are physically different from most galactic species," Zixthal explained. "Stronger, denser. Your body structure is quite unusual." The humans were given quarters and then taken to the science lab. There, Susan was asked to share Earth's medical database with the station's scientists. As she explained human research methods, the alien doctors grew increasingly amazed. "Your immune systems adapt at remarkable speeds," said a purple-skinned alien doctor. "And your cellular repair mechanisms are unlike anything we've seen." "Really?" Susan looked surprised. "I always thought we were pretty fragile." "Compared to Draconians, perhaps," the doctor said. "But most species cannot survive the radiation levels your kind tolerates or recover from injuries that would kill others." In another part of the station, Lisa was meeting with the security team. The Silurian officers showed her maps of nearby star systems and explained the political situation. "The Draconians are moving ships closer to your solar system," the security chief told her. "They claim it's for diplomatic purposes, but we have concerns." "What kind of concerns?" Lisa asked. "The Draconians suffer from a genetic degradation disease. Their scientists believe human DNA might hold the cure. Some factions want to simply take what they need." Meanwhile, Jack joined Kesthar in the communications center. As they monitored transmissions, Jack noticed patterns in the data. "These messages are encrypted," he said, pointing to a screen. "But they're using similar patterns to what we call stealth protocols on Earth." Kesthar looked impressed. "You have good eyes, Jack Miller. Those are Draconian military communications. They should not be in this sector." Jack studied the screen more carefully. "They're coordinating something. Multiple ships, moving in formation." Hesthar's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. "I must alert the captain." She hurried from the room, leaving Jack alone with the communication system. He scanned through more messages, his military training helping him spot patterns. What he saw made his blood run cold. The Draconians weren't just moving ships. They were positioning a strike force, and Earth was the target. Jack ran to find Lisa and Susan. They needed to warn Earth immediately. As he raced through the station corridors, he realized how far from home they were, and how little time they had to save their planet from an attack they never saw coming. On the Draconian command ship Void Talon General Kraz reviewed the attack plans. His scaled face showed no emotion as he studied the holographic display of Earth's solar system. "The humans have no significant space defenses," said his second-in-command. "Their detection systems are primitive. We can be in orbit before they know we're coming." Kraz nodded. "The science division requires at least 50 living specimens. Prioritize capturing their medical researchers. And if they resist, we take what we need. The Council hasn't officially protected this species yet. The Draconians suffered from a genetic disease that was slowly killing their entire species. Their scientists believe human DNA held the key to their survival." To Kraz, the choice was simple. A few humans would suffer so that billions of Draconians could live. Back at the Silurian station, Jack burst into the meeting room, where Lisa and Susan were speaking with alien diplomats. "We need to leave now," Jack said, out of breath. "Earth is in danger." Lisa stood up immediately. "What's happening?" "The Draconians are planning an attack. They want to capture humans for testing." The alien diplomats looked at each other nervously. One of them, a tall being with silver skin, spoke up. "The Council has not authorized military action against Earth." "I don't think they're waiting for permission," Jack replied. "We saw their communications. They're moving ships into position right now." Captain Zixthul entered the room. "Your information is correct, Jack Miller. Our long-range scanners have detected a Draconian fleet moving toward Earth. They will arrive in 48 hours. We need to warn our people," Susan said. "Can the Horizon make it back in time?" "Not at your current speed," Zixthul said. "But I can offer our fastest communication relay. You can send a message that will reach Earth within hours." On Earth, Director Powell was working late when the emergency message arrived. He read it twice, then immediately contacted the world's military leaders. Within hours, an emergency global meeting was convened. "The threat is real," Powell told the assembled leaders on the video conference. "Our new allies have confirmed it. We have less than 2 days before the Draconian fleet arrives." "What do these aliens want?" asked the Chinese president. "Test subjects, human specimens for medical research. They're facing extinction from a genetic disease, and they believe our DNA can save them." "What defense options do we have?" the Russian leader asked. Powell nodded to a man beside him. "Dr. Eric Johnson has been working with Silurian technology. He has some ideas." Dr. Johnson stepped forward. "We've repurposed the alien technology shared by the Silurians. It's not much, but we've created shields for our major cities and modified some satellites into defensive platforms." "Will it be enough?" someone asked. "No," Johnson admitted, "but it might buy us time." The Horizon raced back to Earth, pushing its engines beyond their recommended limits. Inside, Jack, Lisa, and Susan prepared for the worst. "The Silurians are debating whether to help us," Lisa said. "Seems like their rules don't allow interfering in conflicts between other species." "That's crazy," Jack replied. "The Draconians are the ones breaking the rules." Susan looked up from her computer. "I've been studying the Draconian genetic disease from the data they shared. I think I understand the problem, and we might have a solution." "A cure?" Jack asked. Susan nodded. "Maybe. Our gene therapy techniques are different from theirs. What's killing them might be treatable with our methods." "So we could help them instead of fighting?" Lisa asked. "If they'll listen," Susan said. "But from what we know about the Draconians," Jack finished her thought, "they're not the type to ask nicely when they can take by force." As the Horizon approached Earth, they could see the Draconian ships already in orbit. The invasion had begun. The sky above New York glowed orange as the draconian ships entered the atmosphere. Similar scenes played out over London, Beijing, Moscow, and other major cities. People ran through the streets in panic while military jets scrambled to intercept the alien vessels. In Washington, D.C., Director Powell watched satellite feeds from the Pentagon Command Center. Dr. Johnson stood beside him, monitoring the shield systems they had hastily deployed. "Shields at 60% and holding," Johnson reported. "But they won't last long against sustained attacks." Powell nodded grimly. "Where's the Horizon *? Any word from our team?" "They've entered Earth airspace, trying to avoid draconian patrols." The Horizon * flew low over the Atlantic, using cloud cover for concealment. Inside, Captain Garcia piloted while Jack and Susan prepared their plan. "The main draconian command ship is here," Jack said, pointing to a radar image. "If we can get aboard and speak to their leader, maybe we can stop this before more people die." "And if they won't listen?" Lisa asked. "Then at least we'll be in position to hit them where it hurts," Jack replied. Susan looked up from her tablet. "I finalized the formula. If my theory is correct, this gene therapy could halt their genetic degradation." "Let's hope they're in a listening mood," Lisa said as she steered the ship toward the massive draconian vessel hovering over the East Coast. General Kraz watched with satisfaction as his troops landed in key locations. Reports came in of successful captures of human medical facilities and research centers. The humans fought back with surprising force, but their weapons were no match for draconian technology. "Sir," a young officer called out, "we're detecting an approaching vessel. It appears to be using Silurian technology, but the energy signature is unusual." Kraz frowned. "The Silurians wouldn't dare interfere." "Scan it again." "It's transmitting a message, sir, in our language." The message was simple. "We have a cure. Allow us to dock and demonstrate." Kraz hesitated. This could be a trick, but if there was even a small chance, let them approach, but be ready to destroy them at the first sign of deception. The Horizon * docked with the massive draconian command ship. Jack, Lisa, and Susan were escorted by armed guards to the bridge where General Kraz waited. His imposing figure towered over the humans, his scaled skin gleaming under the ship's lights. "You claim to have a cure," Kraz said, his voice deep and suspicious. "Prove it." Susan stepped forward. "We need a patient to demonstrate. Someone suffering from advanced stages of the disease." Kraz gestured to an officer who appeared weaker than the others, with dull scales and labored breathing. "Officer Mex is in the final stages. He has nothing to lose." Susan carefully prepared the injection, her hand steady despite the tense situation. The draconian officer looked at her with a mixture of hope and suspicion as she administered the treatment. "It will take a few minutes to show initial effects," Susan explained. While they waited, Jack addressed the general. "Your attack on our world was unnecessary. We would have shared our medical knowledge willingly." "Willing cooperation is rare in the galaxy," Kraz replied. "Taking what we need has always been more efficient." "Not this time," Lisa said firmly. "Look at what's happening all over Earth. Humans don't surrender easily." On screens around the bridge, the Draconians watched as their landing parties faced unexpected resistance. Human military forces had adapted quickly, using the limited alien technology they had to enhance their weapons. In some cities, the invaders were already being pushed back. "Impossible," one of the Draconian officers whispered. "They're just primitives." A gasp from Officer Mex drew everyone's attention. The weak Draconian stood straighter, his breathing easier, his scales beginning to regain their luster. "The pain," he said in wonder. "It's subsiding." General Kraz stared in disbelief. "How is this possible? Our best scientists have tried for generations." "Sometimes a fresh perspective helps," Susan said simply. "Your scientists were so advanced in some ways that they overlooked simpler approaches." Kraz looked from the recovering officer to the humans, then back to the battle reports from Earth. For the first time in his military career, he made a decision that would change the course of the war. "Stand down, all forces," he commanded. Immediately, Captain Lisa Garcia stood firm as she faced General Kraz on the bridge of the Draconian command ship. Behind her, Jack and Susan watched tensely as the massive alien considered their offer. "A complete withdrawal of all forces," Lisa said, "in exchange for the full cure and a medical partnership." Kraz's reptilian eyes narrowed. "You are in no position to make demands, human." "Look at your screens," Jack said, pointing to the battle feeds. "Your troops are facing much more resistance than you expected. And now we've proven we can cure your people." The Draconian general growled, a deep rumble that made the humans step back instinctively. Then, to everyone's surprise, he laughed. "In 300 years of military service, I have never been outmaneuvered by a pre-FTL species." He turned to his communications officer. "Order all ships to cease attack operations. Begin evacuation of ground forces." Relief washed over the humans. Susan stepped forward, her tablet in hand. "I can share the complete formula and treatment protocol with your medical staff right away. The basic principles should be easy to adapt to your existing technology." While Susan worked with the Draconian medical team, Director Powell coordinated with the Horizon crew from Earth. The global situation was stabilizing, but the sudden appearance of alien ships had caused worldwide panic. It would take time for things to return to normal. "The Galactic Council is convening an emergency session," Powell informed them via video link. "They want representatives from Earth to attend." "Why now?" Jack asked. "They didn't seem too concerned when the Draconians were about to invade us." "That's exactly why," Lisa replied. "We just survived an attack by one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. And more importantly, we offered help instead of revenge." 3 days later, a joint human-Draconian delegation arrived at the Council headquarters, a massive space station orbiting a neutral star. Jack, Lisa, and Susan represented Earth, alongside Director Powell. They were escorted to the Great Chamber where representatives from dozens of worlds waited. The High Counselor, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline form, called the session to order. "We gather to address the unprecedented events concerning the planet Earth," the High Counselor began. "A violation of Council law occurred when the Draconians launched an unauthorized military action." General Kraz stood. "We accept responsibility for our actions, but we also bring news that changes everything." He gestured to Susan. "The humans have cured our genetic degradation disease, something our scientists and the councils failed to do for generations." Murmurs spread through the chamber. The High Counselor's crystalline form pulsed with light. "Is this verified?" Susan stood and activated a holographic display showing medical data. "The treatment has been tested on 37 Draconian patients so far. All show significant improvement. Full recovery is expected within weeks." "How is this possible?" demanded a representative from a world known for its advanced medical science. "Humans approach the problem differently," Susan explained. "Sometimes less advanced technology forces more creative solutions. We couldn't rely on the complex genetic manipulation techniques you use, so we found another way." Director Powell addressed the Council directly. "Earth wishes to formally share our medical database with all worlds in the Council. No fees, no restrictions. In return, we ask for peaceful recognition and protection as we develop our own interstellar capabilities." The chamber erupted in debate. Some representatives were suspicious of humans' rapid advancement. Others saw tremendous opportunity in an alliance. The Draconians, surprisingly, became Earth's strongest advocates. "We were ready to enslave these people," General Kraz told the Council. "Instead, they saved our species. If this is the wisdom of Earth, the galaxy would be foolish to reject it." As the Council deliberated, Jack whispered to Lisa, "Not bad for a primitive species, huh?" Lisa smiled. "I don't think anyone's going to call us primitive anymore." The High Counselor raised a glowing appendage for silence. The Council has reached a decision that will forever alter the course of galactic history. 1 year after the draconian invasion attempt, Earth had changed in ways no one could have imagined. Alien ships now regularly visited the planet, and humans had begun traveling to nearby star systems. The first human-designed FTL ship, Pathfinder *, sat on its launch pad in the New Mexico desert, ready for its maiden voyage. Jack Miller stood beside the massive craft, hardly believing how much had happened in just 12 months. He wore the formal uniform of the Earth Diplomatic Corps, his new role as cultural liaison, keeping him busy as aliens from across the galaxy arrived to learn about human medicine and culture. Nervous about the speech, Dr. Susan Wright asked as she joined him by the ship. She now led the interspecies medical research team, a group of scientists from 12 different worlds working together to solve the galaxy's most challenging health problems. A little, Jack admitted. When I first met Zixthol and the Silurians, I never thought I'd end up here. They looked up as a draconian shuttle landed nearby. General Kraz, now Ambassador Kraz, stepped out and approached them. The once fearsome military leader had become one of Earth's strongest advocates in the galactic community. The Council representatives have arrived, Kraz informed them. Director Powell is greeting them now. At the newly built Galactic Embassy complex nearby, Director Alan Powell welcomed a delegation from the Council. The tall, crystalline High Counselor glided smoothly across the floor, followed by representatives from major worlds. Earth continues to surprise us, the High Counselor said. In 1 year, you've helped cure 17 previously incurable diseases across the galaxy. Powell nodded. Human innovation seems to complement advanced alien technology quite well. We think differently, approach problems from unexpected angles. That is precisely why the Council has approved your admission with special status, the High Counselor replied. No species has ever joined so quickly after first contact. The ceremony to launch the Pathfinder * and formally admit Earth to the Galactic Council drew a crowd of thousands of humans and hundreds of aliens. Captain Lisa Garcia, chosen to command the new ship, stood proudly on the stage with the other speakers. Today marks not just the launch of our first true starship, Powell told the audience, but the beginning of humanity's role as a full member of the galactic community. When Jack stepped up to speak, he saw familiar faces in the crowd, Zixthol and Kezthar, the Silurians who had first landed in the desert, Dr. Johnson, whose work adapting alien technology had helped defend Earth, and many others who had played roles in the remarkable year. A year ago, aliens landed on Earth looking for scientific data, Jack began. What they found instead was a different way of thinking about problems. Our supposedly primitive approaches to medicine, technology, and even conflict resolution turned out to offer solutions that more advanced civilizations had overlooked. After the speeches, as the final preparations for Pathfinder's * launch continued, the High Counselor requested a private meeting with Powell, Jack, Susan, and Lisa. There is something you should know, the crystalline being said, its form shimmering with light. Our historians have been studying ancient records since encountering your genetic patterns. What did they find? Powell asked. Evidence that humans were not a naturally evolved species. You were engineered many thousands of years ago by a race we call the Forerunners. They seeded many worlds, but Earth received special attention. We were created by aliens, Susan asked in shock. Not merely created, designed as problem solvers, with your DNA specifically programmed for adaptability and innovation. The Forerunners vanished long ago, but they left you as their legacy. A species that thinks differently, sees solutions where others see only problems. Jack remembered what Kezthar had called humans when they first met. Anomalies. Is that why our medical techniques and approaches are so different? Yes. You were their masterpiece, meant to eventually join the galactic community and help solve its greatest challenges. And now, after thousands of years, their plan has finally come to fruition. As the Pathfinder * lifted off into the clear blue sky, Humanity took its first official steps into the stars, not as primitives stumbling into a greater universe, but as inheritors of an ancient legacy, bringing fresh perspectives to a galaxy that desperately needed them.